Hey, Alyssa. All right. So I'll give you the um, interview. So I was reading through this. I'm like, God, I'm going to ramble on this. So I'll try to keep it concise for you. So, all right. Number one, did you always want to go into sports fitness field? Did you have any other interests? So I started college at Kansas State and I started in hotel and restaurant management, thus the connection to nutrition and business, I suppose. So I wanted to be an executive chef, own a restaurant, like a hip, cool kind of place. But then when I realized that I had to be working on weekends, holidays, evenings, like whenever else is celebrating, you're working. Maybe that wouldn't have been the worst, but I wanted a family and didn't really want that. So I figured I would go to another career and then make enough money to enjoy the food, which is really what I did. I thought, I don't know if I want to work in the food industry. Maybe I just want to enjoy it. Right. So then I switched to exercise physiology, got accepted to medical school and decided not to go to medical school and instead went to grad school and went that route. There's probably more. I'll expand on that later. So number two, how did you decide what to specialize in? Well, one day when I was in grad school, and I'd already kind of decided, I guess, I ran track at Kansas State, and I was just enamored by how athletes perform. Just something about that was so intriguing to me. So I wanted to study athletes, help make athletes better, make myself better, and just that whole area of physiology and exercise physiology was fascinating to me. And the glitz and the glamour of like the Olympics, and that kind of stuff. It just was like cool. So um, yeah, one day when I was in grad school, I'm standing on the street corner and a Mustang or some kind of fast muscle car took off from a stoplight and went from 0 to 60 as fast as it can and just punched it. And I'm like, okay, so that's possible in the physical universe for something, an object to do that. Why can't the human body do that? Are there things we haven't discovered that would allow us to go from 0 to 60 in like 4 seconds with our human body? And we know the physics and the biochemistry and the biomechanics and all that, but is there a way to really go that fast? Or could someone actually sprint? So a 100-meter sprinter goes about 26 miles an hour. Could we run at that pace for a marathon? Is there a way possible? And so that's what I wanted to discover. That's what intrigued me. And that's what I thought about all day long. All right. What schools have you attended and graduated from? Kansas State undergrad, bachelor's degree in exercise physiology. And then went to Indiana University and got a master's degree in exercise physiology. And actually, my very specialty, which I didn't end up doing this, but it was what was hot there in that office that we were in, was high altitude ventilatory physiology. So they were looking at ventilatory rates at Mount Everest and Mount McKinley and stuff like that. So I studied ventilation, but that was interesting. So we looked at ventilation in athletes, whether it was trained or it was genetic, in sprinters versus distance runners. That was my master's thesis. So not super exciting, but that's what I specialized in because I guess that was what was there. But I think training athletes was what I really was intrigued by. Did I skip from that? What schools have you graduated and attended from? Kansas State and then Indiana for grad school. Okay. How long did it take for you to earn each degree? Yeah, 5.5 years undergrad. I had fun my first couple years, so it took a little time. Two different semesters off, so it took a little longer than some. And then grad school was 2 years with that. So at Indiana, what kind of jobs did you work prior to graduation, and where are you today? Most important, or that you feel relevant. So grad school, I cut grasses. I was a personal trainer at the YMCA. I was a graduate assistant on the track team at Indiana University. So assistant coach, right? Graduate assistant. And then I coached or taught. I taught two PE 101 classes. You've taken those. So from running to soccer to, I don't know, all those weightlifting, cycling, racquetball. I taught racquetball. Knew nothing about that, but that was kind of cool. And then, so just kind of those kind of jobs in grad school. And then I got out and I was a track coach, head track coach at Salisbury University in Maryland for 4 years. And then wanted to get back into the bigger schools. So I was hired here at Texas A&M and worked for about a year and a half and then went into personal training full time. I mean, I started just doing it in the evening and it just blew up, just took off. So we had the first private training studio in town. So it was like off the charts within just a few months. So I quit coaching track and I was burnt out. I was really done doing that. I didn't coach track because I loved it. I'm not a huge track fan, even though I enjoy going to meets and know a lot about it. I coached it because I knew it, right? So you kind of tend to often do what you know well, but I'm like, this isn't my passion. So, and it's a lot of work and not a lot of pay. I mean, if you're coaching athletes all week and then you're going to meets on the weekend and then you fly out for a couple of days of recruiting, then you're back and it's 24/7. It's just nonstop. So I was like, I don't know that I want to do this. And so, especially since it wasn't the passion. So, um, So then after that, so important to feel relevant. So prior to graduation, where you are today. So opened a training studio here in town. I owned the two Elements massages here in town, two Anytime Fitness gyms in town. I had a boot camp that was the first boot camp in town in 2007, with over 100 people in that for many, many years. And then a running club, and then lots of other little stuff in between. And now YogaPod. What's your favorite thing of the job? So I think your favorite and the hardest, and I think that's kind of like number 12 too, um, is the people. You love the people. I love people. I love spending time with people. But then when I'm in work mode, which sometimes you've probably seen me and you're like, okay, he's grumpy. It's not. I, I'm in work mode and I'm thinking. So when I'm doing weigh-ins in the morning, you're seeing me in work mode. And so I'm not even looking who you are. I'm just doing numbers and I'm just like, my mind is grinding. And that's hard for me to be like gush on people. And I love doing that. So it creates stress. Like I want to just spend time and just talk to you guys and have fun and coach and love on you guys. But then when I'm in work mode, it's like a separate cliff. And so that's to me the hardest part. But the favorite, so it's the worst and the best part of my job is people, right? I love people, want to spend time with them, but then when I can't, that to me is the most difficult part. I'll say, what's your 10-year career goal? So, well, yeah. So you look at fitness, here's the challenge in fitness. So this is probably really good for your interview. Fitness changes really quickly, right? Boot camp, like I dominated in town. We had a monopoly on it, but it was such an easy barrier to entry. There was so much competition that came in. I knew it would happen. And you've got to get ready for the next thing. You've got to have the next plan ready to go. Um, is it 10 boot camps around and they're all small? Do you want to do that? Or what's the next thing? And so to me, yoga was the next thing. It was growing. It's $1 billion industry. Not many people had figured out the business model. And it was a challenge for me in a fitness field or a wellness field that had staying power. Like yoga is not going to go anywhere in the next 20, 30 years. I think it's just going to keep growing and growing. And I was tired of chasing trends. Look at Zumba, right? Or curves or any of those fitness trends that were huge at one point and are now pretty well gone. I mean, aerobic dance back in the 80s, it's gone pretty much. So but you have to it really, if you look at the fitness and the exercise field or the business of it, we're doing the same shit that we did 100 years ago. We're just repackaging it. Like what we're doing with the fitness challenge, there's nothing new. It's just repackaged and retooled and reformulated so that it draws new people in. And a lot of times that's what it needs is someone who's, look, none of you guys, this is your first foray into exercise. You've all done it before. You've all tried, you've all dieted. But if I can come out with a new package, people go, ooh, that excites me and motivates me. And that's what we want to do is continue to bring out new things. But then that's always also a frustration because you got to hit the next thing. And sometimes you can have a lull for a few years and you're like, God, I'm like, my business is not going where it needs to be. But then you hit on something and kaboom. So you, in the fitness fields, you've got to stay on your toes. You've got to always watch the trends. You've got to decide which one's going to work here, how you're going to do it, and then go hard with it. So this 6 week fitness challenge, you watch. There's going to be everyone in town is going to be doing it in a year or two because that's what happens. I mean, Elements Massage. It was the first concept of its kind in town, and now they're all over the place. And the one-on-one personal training studio. I mean, you name it, everything I've done, people will copy it and copy it fast, and I don't mind. They're going to. You just got to accept that. But you've also got to say, um, I got to go hard and go fast and then be looking for the next thing to retool it before anyone else does. And the other thing too with this is that the person that knows their numbers, all the numbers, like there's a million numbers behind the scenes and know those and figures out how to acquire customers, fulfill what you've given, which I can tell you, I don't think I'm doing a great job with you guys with this. And I know that, but fulfillment can be the hardest thing. And then ascension, right? So bring them to the next level. Someone who can do that the best can spend the most on marketing and will continue to dominate. So anyway, I think I got off subject there. But so I chose YogaPod because I knew it's staying power, and I want to grow this vertically. In other words, how many can we possibly put in that building until it's like we can't anymore? Then you open number two, and you don't open number two until you have 200 grand in the bank, in the business bank account, and you're bringing in $20,000 profit a month. Then that's like my key to open a second one. So we're almost there. We're not quite there, but so open five, you profit $250,000 on five of them. That's what, $1.25 million. And then you typically sell them for 3 times net. So 3 times 1.25 is what, almost $4 million. And you sell it for $4 million. Let's say we go into this with no debt, which we can do. Then what you do is you're done, right? I mean, you could retire on that, but an entrepreneur never ever retires. That means you just